Okay, hello everyone. On behalf of the organizing team, I welcome you to the sixth Science for Health in Africa Virtual Networking Exchange. This event brings together industry leaders, researchers, funding organizations, entrepreneurs, and enthusiasts from across the field of data science, AI, machine learning to share insights, first connections, and explore the latest trends in data science. Whether you are here to exchange knowledge, collaborate on projects, or simply expand your professional network, we encourage you to engage fully and take advantage of the opportunities available. Throughout this 3.5 hour event, you will have the chance to participate in discussions, attend various presentations in the various networking breakout sessions, and connect with fellow delegates who share your passion for data-driven innovation. We hope that you find this networking exchange to be an enriching experience and look forward to the valuable conversations and collaborations that will emerge. My name is Francis Agama, and I am the project coordinator. I'm based at the University of Cape Town as part of the DS Africa Coordinating Center. So I will give a quick overview of the expectation for today. We are expecting representation from 5 continents at this networking exchange, specifically representation from Africa, which has the largest proportion of people participating, North America, Asia, Europe, and Australia. Within the next 3.5 hours, we are expecting about 500 delegates that have registered for the event to show up. So within the 3.5 hour event, they will participate in specific sections that they find interesting. At the event today, almost one fourth of the registered delegates, like a little over one fourth, is DS Africa affiliated, with about 3/4 of the registered delegates non-DS Africa affiliated. Just tells us the reach that our networking exchange event is taking. The theme for our event this year is sustainable partnerships for research, and to provide highlights on the vital role collaboration plays in advancing our field. In data science, partnerships between academia, industry, and governmental organizations can drive innovations and create actionable insights that addresses complex societal challenges. And that is our motivation for organizing these networking exchanges. So I will hand over to the working group chair, the partnership and outreach working group chair, to just give you a little overview of what the networking exchange is.
Well, thank you kindly, Francis. What is a networking exchange? It's an informal opportunity. We're expecting to learn a bit about data science, machine learning, AI, and health activities across Africa. As we said a little bit earlier, the main goal is to learn about each other's work and potentially find people that we could collaborate with. We will be showcasing data science, machine learning, AI, and other research projects. We'll be bringing together startups, tech companies, researchers, data scientists, data engineers, and importantly, funders and entrepreneurs. And the most important thing is that we're hoping to create vital opportunities for matchmaking. And of course, once again, we're showcasing data science, ML, AI, and other research products. Thank you, Francis. Yeah.
Thanks, Samson. So we have a number of facilitators and moderators on the call now that will be assisting with the event. I'll quickly go through the agenda for today. We will have 3 networking rounds. Of course, we've already gone through the welcome and overview of the networking exchange. We will have 3 networking rounds. The first networking round is dedicated for data science communities and then research labs. There will be 4 breakout rooms, and in each breakout rooms, at least 2 organizations will be presenting in those breakout rooms. After the first networking round, which will run for about 50 minutes, you will all move back to the main Zoom room, and then we take some icebreaker before we move to the next networking round. So the networking round 2 will be dedicated to private sectors, NGOs, and AI labs. Similar to round 1, there will be 4 breakout rooms with at least 2 organizations represented there. That will also run for about 50 minutes. Then we will all move back to the main Zoom and prepare for the next networking round. Of course, we will take the icebreaker and then transition. The networking round 3 will be a slightly different format. We will all be in the main room. There will be no breakout session. It will take the format of a plenary where we have about 5 random organizations who will get to 6, actually, who will get to present to us. And after, we will take Q&A, moderated Q&A. At the moment, many of you have realized that you are unable to unmute yourself because we are trying to control this in the main room. But once we move into the breakout rooms, you will be able to unmute. The breakout rooms sessions will be recorded. The recordings will be made available on the DS Africa YouTube channel. So, of course, not all of you will get the chance to see all the various presentations that will be presented in the breakout room. So, after the event, you can then visit the DS Africa YouTube channel to see the other presentations that happened in the other breakout rooms. For any technical assistance, you can send me an email. We've also created some WhatsApp groups for the various speakers and the facilitators. You can also post your or challenges there, and then we will try to assist you. Before we move to the first networking round, we will have our first icebreaker. So it is a Mentimeter poll, and my colleague Tina will put in the chat the link to the poll. But then also, as you can see, I'm sharing the question. You can either go to menti.com and then put in the code 19297099, or you can as well scan the QR code. As you can see, it will also take you to the poll, and then you can answer the question of how would you describe the potential of data science to transform health in Africa. So I'm waiting for you all to go there and then provide responses. There are already responses coming through. So you go to menti.com, you input the code 19297099, or you can scan the QR code. It will also take you to the poll. My colleague has also put in the chat the link to the same poll. So there are about 3 ways to do this. So 19 responses so far. I see we are over 100 now. People are still joining. So I'm expecting more than 50 responses, if not the whole of 100. 35 responses, 40 responses so far. Some are saying significant, collaboration, revolutionary, impactful, transformative, insufficient, okay, life-changing, transformational, worth exploring, remarkable, revolving, useful, insufficient, informed decision-making, okay, game-changing. Yeah, please let your responses come through. So the question is, how would you describe the potential of data science to transform health in Africa? 93 responses so far. We are over 100 people on the course. I'm expecting. Once I get to the 100 mark, then probably I can move to the great. More responses coming through. Thank you so much. So the poll will be active, and then you can provide your responses as well. Yeah, we need your responses. Your responses will help us to to gauge the potential of data science to transform health in Africa. Okay. Someone is scribbling. All right. So Eunice, if you could stop scribbling, great. So whilst the poll is on, we will open the breakout rooms. We have named the breakout rooms as breakout room 1, breakout room 2, breakout room 3, and breakout room 4. So in breakout room 1, these are the organizations that will be presenting. Same applies to breakout room 2. These are the organizations that will be presenting breakout room 3 and then breakout room 4. To join the breakout room, below on the Zoom functionality tab, you will see small 4 boxes. Once you click on it, you will be able to choose your own breakout room. But if you have any challenge joining the breakout room, please put in the chat the breakout room that you want to join, and then my colleague and I will assign you to the breakout. So for now, we will all move to the breakout rooms to begin our first networking round. Thank you.
So I'm Michelle Skelton, and I am the PI of the DSI Africa Coordinating Center based here at UCT, and I will be moderating the session. So I would give a big welcome to the folks that stayed on for this funding session. Also welcome to the speakers and panelists. Folks with various backgrounds, of course, in the panel today: funders, entrepreneurs, independent folks, and leaders in their own right and in their sectors. So each presenter in the panel will get 8 to 10 minutes to present, and then the questions, please post your questions in the chat to the attendees, the audience, and pop the person's name there that you know that the question is for, and we'll grab those. And when we have the panel discussion, we will move to the questions. So thanks so much for that. And I have the pleasure of introducing the first speaker from Wellcome Trust, Yolisa Nawu. So Yolisa, is she here? Yolisa here?
Hi,
Yep.
yes, I am. Can you hear me well?
Yes, lovely.
Thank you.
So Yolisa is a senior manager at Wellcome, overseeing the delivery and partnership engagement of Africa programs and investments that sit within Wellcome's major international programs portfolio. This includes 3 research institutes whose primary locations are in Malawi, Kenya, and of course South Africa, as well as the catalytic funding institution in Kenya. Yolisa's role is to ensure that Wellcome's funding in Africa delivers on their mission and advances equity through investing in the research ecosystems and strengthening work. Yolisa is a molecular biologist by background. She also holds a public health degree in the control of infectious disease. She's from Uganda. Her work doubles as she stands for health as a human right, equitable partnerships, and also decolonizing of global health. So welcome, Yolisa, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to confirm if everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, and apologies, I wasn't able to make the earlier sessions. I hope those were, they look like they were very interesting. I'll quickly get started as I can see we're slightly behind time. And I'll just quickly do a whistle stop of Wellcome's funding opportunities. I'm Yolisa, Senior Manager, Major International Programs at Wellcome. So for those who haven't come across us, Wellcome is a large, independent and global charitable foundation. We're based in the UK. Kind of unique thing about Wellcome is we are financially and politically independent with no shareholders or political allegiances, and we answer to a board. Our vision is health is a healthier future for everyone, and we do this through our mission, which is to support science to solve the urgent health challenges facing everyone. To do this, we have kind of two delivery modes in which we can implement our strategy. So there's the discovery mode and solutions. Discovery mode is essentially oriented to discovery in its broadest sense. So kind of very open-ended, generating knowledge with the potential, but not guaranteed to have an impact on health in the future. So these house our Wellcome Collection, Discovery Research, and Wellcome Leap. And then we have the solutions mode, which is essentially Wellcome has recognized that we can't take on every health challenge. And so we've narrowed down to three health challenges, which is climate and health, infectious disease, and mental health, and have established programs within these areas and fund from those as well. And underpinning everything we do is our commitment to equity, where we essentially believe that to drive equitable outcomes, Wellcome has to advance inclusive practices that broaden the range of people who are leading, participating in, and benefiting from science. So essentially, Wellcome has two types of funding. We have directed funding, and this is essentially one-off funding opportunities that are designed to meet a very particular need within Wellcome's strategy. And so you essentially see most of these directed funding are in form of funding calls that are advertised by the climate and health team, infectious disease, and mental health. So that's the solutions bit. And most of the time, the funding calls are open, but at times they're also closed, which is non-competitive. So the competitive funding calls is publicly advertised on the Wellcome website, and researchers can apply for according to eligibility and remit. The open calls are only open for applications once for a limited period of time. Then there's the open mode funding, and this is the one that I'm going to spend the most time talking about, which is run by our discovery research team. These are competitive. They're recurring funding opportunities for researchers to apply to, with several funding rounds per year. They have established processes and controls, defined criteria for application and assessment. And these three, as I've said, lie within discovery research. So that's why I'm going to kind of focus those two, as we can speak more generally towards those. So what is discovery research? We get asked that a lot. And it's essentially the ambition for discovery research is to really fund breakthrough research that we consider field opening, so across a breadth of disciplines, and bringing fields and perspectives together. At the center of this is people and their careers. One of the things at discovery research we want to do is to unlock really the potential of researchers, giving them kind of time and freedom to be truly curious, and encouraging researchers to work together as well, to be able to push the boundaries and answer these kind of big questions at the same time, while kind of supporting a strong research ecosystem, which is very key to these ambitions. So it's, of course, very important that we support research that's led from the Global South. I think we all recognize that the burden of disease rests in the Global South. The impact of a lot of things that are changing in the world, we tend to find it's the Global South that are impacted, and the Global South also has the largest population. So it would be bad science to have research that is not representative of these regions. And so these are very important, and Wellcome is trying to strengthen and to improve its engagement and its partnerships and funding in the Global South. So what are the funding schemes available? These are three. They've been simplified. I know some people remember the old Wellcome schemes from Discovery Research. They've been kind of simplified to just three, which are called open mode. And why is it open mode? Because it's open to the research community to come with any idea, your best ideas. It doesn't have to answer to the health challenges. So the three that I showed, which was climate and health, mental health, and ID, they don't have to answer to those. It's just open. If you have, as opposed to kind of having a call on a particular topic. You can see here, they're the early career awards, they're the career development awards, which are kind of targeting mostly mid-career researchers, and then the discovery awards, which are essentially targeting kind of more independent researchers who are going to lead teams. And there's a lot of information on the website. There are the barcodes, and I'll make sure I also share the slides so that you can really see what the eligibility is for all these for these three schemes. There are 3 rounds a year for each scheme. So really, we encourage you to apply when you are ready and your application is in good shape. It's better to wait and have a good application than rush through, particularly as this run for each of them 3 times a year. What are we open to? Diverse disciplines, as long as there's a clear link to human health. So that's very important, as long as there is a clear link. And it can span from clinical research, fundamental biology, public health, the humanities and social sciences, and physical sciences. So I think a lot of people tend to think it's very fundamental biology that we fund, but actually it's a range of everything, including humanities and social science. As long as what you're proposing will lead to new knowledge and it will lead to significant advances in our understanding of human health, life, and well-being. We recognize as well that tools and technologies are often game changers. And so we always also want to ensure that we're supporting these, and these are considered of equal merit to kind of the hypothesis-driven research that we used to tend to, I think, fund for the most part. However, it's important that their potential application needs to support kind of discovery research. So as you can see as well, as it is discovery, we will not support research that is exclusively translational. However, we encourage discovery research that has a translational potential. So these are the common remit questions. What does discovery research mean? Are you interested in lab science only, which is no, as I've said, it can be any range. Can the research have clinical and policy impact? Absolutely. However, because it is discovery, there doesn't need to be a clear link to impact, but where there is, we want to hear about it. And of course, can we conduct clinical trials? I think that's a big one. And we do not fund large-scale trials, particularly where the main purpose is to develop, test, or implement a drug, a product or an intervention. However, a clinical trial or intervention study would be in remit, provided that the focus is on understanding the mechanisms of health and disease. We also recognize that within kind of large programs of work, you might be conducting research that will go on to inform a large clinical scale trial that then you will apply to another funder for. So we allow a small amount of feasibility work for a later clinical trial. However, again, it has to be provided that the majority of your proposal is about furthering our understanding of health and disease. Again, if you're not sure if your question is in remit, Welcome is actually very open. When you have a question about your individual application, you can get in touch with the funding support team. You can see their email is up above, and I'll share a lot more contact details at the end of the talk. Moderator, please let me know when my time is up. I've kind of lost track of time.
I think you can,
how many minutes do I have?
I think you
Sorry?
can try to wrap up.
Okay. So yes. So what I have here, and again, I'll share these slides, is just to encourage you that I think it's very hard sometimes for researchers who are answering very critical health questions that relate to problems around them, but they might not think that this is a discovery research question. And we understand that has been a very kind of difficult definition to encompass. We have published an article actually recently on LinkedIn, which has highlighted some examples, particularly where human beings are at the heart of the projects, of the discovery research projects, so things that we have supported, which might help to bring maybe kind of what we mean, how you can apply discovery in an applied area. So these are examples. I won't go through all of them, but as you can see, there are certain questions that you can see across, ranging from genomics to pathogen biology, different examples of research that is being run to get a sense of the scope of what we can fund. So I'll skip over this. Over here, I can just very quickly run through what our assessment process is. It's similar for each scheme. So all applications will be checked internally for their remit and eligibility. Following that, they'll go to our shortlisting advisory groups, and these are split by subject area. If they're successful, then they're sent out to for written expert review, and candidates are invited to interview. However, before the interview, candidates get the copies of the written reviews. At the interview, candidates are invited to give a 10-minute presentation and then answer questions from the panel. The panel is very generalist with a range of different expertise. And then the panels make a funding recommendation, and then the final decision is made by Wellcome. These are the assessment criteria. We look at the research proposal, the applicant, and the research environment. At the shortlisting stage, however, these three elements are considered holistically, and a single score is given. At the interview stage, then they are weighted according to these. So I'll stop here to give time as well for the other funders. But when I do share the slides, you'll see that I have kind of as well broken down kind of what are they looking for in a research proposal? What are they looking for in the applicants? What are they looking for in the research environment? And kind of how can you answer that? And I've also linked some links to and barcodes as well for any information that you need. We've had webinars.
For diseases and application of AI in health across low and middle income countries. He's a former commissioner on the Chatham House Commission for Universal Health. Dr. Ote is also co-founder of the Network of Impact Evaluation Researchers in Africa and currently serves as Secretary General. Welcome, and please go ahead. Thank you. Samuel.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely fine, yes.
What about my slide?
It's loading. It's loading.
Is it loading?
Yes.
Because I have a unique situation where I am speaking from a different device and presenting from another one. I hope the technology can handle that.
Do we have your slides? Maybe?
Yes, I sent them I uploaded them, I think, on the portal.
Okay,
So
so
it might be easier if somebody else presents.
Okay, there we go. You can see some slides now. Do you want to put that in presenter mode?
Is it up?
Yes, it looks like it. Can you see?
I actually can't see it myself.
Yeah, we can see the slides, but it is.
Yes.
So I need to put it in presentation mode?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can figure that out. Okay. How about now? Is it fine?
No, so you need to click on your little icon at the bottom of your screen next to the if you just have a look, there's a ribbon at the bottom of your screen, and you need to click on the actual screen that looks like a computer to put it in presentation mode. Can you see that?
All right, just give me 1 minute. How about now? Or should I try again? I think I'll just try again. It might be easier. Okay.
It's not in presentation mode.
How is that now?
No. If you don't have any animations, maybe we should carry on because we're losing time. So maybe go ahead and present like this. Yeah. Thanks.
So it's not showing?
It's showing, you can see your slides.
Uh-huh.
So do you want to go ahead?
So I can go ahead, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you and apologies for the technological challenges. So my name is Sam Oti. I'm a senior program specialist with IDRC. A little bit about IDRC. We are a Canadian Crown corporation set up about 50 years ago. And our mission is to fund research for development that is led by researchers and research institutions in the Global South to solve their own development challenges. As you can see from the screen, we have our head office in Ottawa, in Canada. And then we have regional offices. So there's one in Montevideo that covers Latin America and the Caribbean, one in Dakar, Senegal, that covers West and Central Africa. Then in Nairobi, where I am based, for East and Southern Africa, Amman, Jordan for Middle East and North Africa, and then our South Asia office is in New Delhi. We have a strategic plan that was launched in 2020, and it's the first time in our history that we're having a 10-year strategic plan. We've typically had 5 years, and I think this underscores the importance that we place to stay in the course on the research thematic areas that we support. And within this strategy, we have three sort of pillars that we are going to invest in high quality research and innovation in developing
your
countries.
slide is not moving. It's still on the first slide.
It's still on the first slide.
Yes.
I don't know why that is happening, because from my end, it's fine.
Share from outside, then you speak to it.
Yes, I think that would just be easier. Let me stop sharing.
Right.
Sorry about this again. It's just one of those days. Okay, great. Thank you. So just move to the next slide. Yes, so this is where we're talking about our regional offices. And then the next slide, I talk about the three pillars of our strategy 2030. So the first pillar is that we're investing in high quality research and innovation in LMICs. We are supporting the sharing of knowledge for greater uptake and use. And then we are mobilizing alliances with other like-minded funders and with partners in the Global South and in the Global North as well to amplify the impact of the research that we support. Next slide. So we have 5 programming areas, and I think what is of most relevance to this group is the 5th area, which is where I sit. It's in our global health division. But we also support work on climate resilient food systems. That's where our work on climate adaptation research, regenerative agriculture, food systems research, that's where that sits. We have another program area on education and science, within which, under the science pillar, we are supporting science granting councils across Africa, strengthening their capacities to be effective at strengthening the science ecosystems in their respective countries. We have work on artificial intelligence for development, and we have a partnership with a global partnership for education, known as Knowledge Innovation Exchange, where we are supporting innovations around education and education policy. Now, we also have work on democratic inclusive governance and on sustainable inclusive economies. But I think what is most relevant to this group is, like I said, the global health pillar or division. Next slide. So within the global health program, what ties our work together is that we're really interested in strengthening health systems and policies. And there are 2 sort of broad thematic areas. I know the slide is a bit crowded, but just focus on the 2 at the top that are colored. So on the left-hand side, we are looking at reducing health inequalities in sexual, reproductive, and maternal health and other essential services, including mental health. And then we're on the right-hand side, the green sort of strip, we are looking at fostering equitable and responsive innovations and solutions for infectious diseases, pandemics, epidemics, and all of this in the context of climate change. So next slide, please. So how do we fund? There are 3 sort of broad mechanisms. We have competitive call for proposals, which are typically announced on our website and through our social media channels. So if you, on the right-hand side, you see a screenshot of our website where we have our funding page, and you can visit this page and you'll see open calls and you'll see closed calls. Unfortunately, at the time when I prepared this presentation, maybe it's changed in the last few days, we don't have any current open calls for proposals, but you could see a number of closed calls, and it can give you a sense of how our calls typically look like. Now, the competitive calls could be open to everyone, or it might be circulated among a smaller group, depending on the scope of that particular initiative. Sometimes we commission work research directly ourselves. For example, if there's a landscaping analysis, if there's a new area of work that we're not quite familiar with, and we want to get a sense of what are the gaps and opportunities there, we can commission consultants to do some scoping studies, and do some stakeholder mapping, do some regional consultations to help us get a sense of where we can add value in that particular space. Yes, and then lastly, but rarely, we might accept unsolicited proposals. So this is not something we do very often, but every now and then, if there's an idea that you have that is really aligned with our strategy, and there is funding available, we might consider being able to fund it. But this tends to be for really smaller grants. Next slide. So this is just sort of a snapshot of some of the projects that we are currently funding within our global health program. And in the next couple of slides, I'll just give you very quick examples of these different initiatives. So just move to the next slide in the interest of time. So for example, we recently, just a couple of weeks ago, had the inception workshop for the ANESA project or initiative rather. And this is a roughly 30 million partnership with the Canadian Institutes of Health Research and Global Affairs Canada on addressing neglected areas of sexual and reproductive health and rights in sub-Saharan Africa. So I think this call has already taken place and the cohort of projects have already been identified, and they just had their inception meeting not very long ago. And it was an open competitive call that was launched through our website and social channels. Next slide. Then we have this also a relatively recent initiative known as Advancing Research on Climate and Health. Now, unlike other funding mechanisms where we directly fund the research or the research teams, through ARCH, what we're doing instead is setting up regional research hubs. And those hubs are now going to manage the direct call for proposals with grantees in their respective regions. So we went through a competitive and open competitive process, and we identified regional hubs in the 5 regions where we work. So right here in Nairobi, the hub for East and Southern Africa is hosted at AMREF University, but it's a consortium of AMREF, University of Botswana, KPMG East Africa, because they all bring different competencies in the climate and health space. Now, what they are going to do in a couple of weeks' time is to run their own call for proposals using our funds, and then identify the cohort of research projects on climate and health that they are going to be supporting. And all the other hubs in the 4 other regions are going to be doing the same thing. Next slide. Artificial intelligence for global health is also a big area of investment for us. And sorry, I forgot to mention the climate and health work is in partnership with the UK Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, as is our artificial intelligence for global health initiative. We've already done the call for proposals over several rounds, and we have over 50 projects across the Global South, research projects, innovation projects. What we're really looking at is advancing responsible AI for health. So AI that is ethical, that is inclusive, that is sustainable, that is free of bias, but at the same time is advancing innovation in the global health space. Next slide. This is very similar to Wellcome's work on discovery, and is a partnership between IDRC, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, and the Israeli Foundation. And it brings together researchers from Canada, Israel, and from the Global South to implement biomedical research. We've gone through 2 rounds of projects now, of calls rather. And I think in combination, we have over 40 projects that are being funded, and we expect that there'll be a 3rd round of calls maybe launched, I think towards the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. So be on the lookout of our websites if you're into biomedical research. Next slide. This is a unique project in the sense that it's looking at strengthening capacity of institutions to be able to use evidence to inform policy making. And it's known as LEAPS, so Learning Together to Advance Evidence and Equity in Policy Making. And it's a partnership between us and the Hewlett Foundation and Robert Bosch Stiftung funding agency as well. So that call has already taken place and 6 projects are currently being funded. Next slide. Sorry, I have to go through all this quickly in the interest of time. So we're also into funding One Health research. So this is known as CORI, Collaborative One Health Research Initiative on Epidemics. There are 4 projects that are looking at applying a One Health lens to strengthening the capacities and abilities of countries to respond to epidemics and pandemics. So we have a number of projects. So 3 out of those projects are right here in Africa. Next slide. This is also a project that is coming to an end. SRHR, like I mentioned, is one of the big areas of funding for us. And so we have this cohort of projects, 7 projects that are looking at gender transformative research approaches. So not necessarily looking at health systems interventions, but going a step back and looking at some of the structural barriers that women and girls face to accessing sexual and reproductive health and to getting favorable sexual and reproductive health outcomes. So this is really looking at research to address these root causes of gender inequalities in SRHR. Next slide, please. As I conclude, we have the Women Rise Initiative, another partnership with CIHR and the Social Sciences and Human Research Council of Canada. Again, this is wrapping up, but it was 23 projects that was born in the aftermath of COVID and really looking to understand how women's health and economic empowerment can be accelerated, the recovery of women's health and the economic empowerment can be accelerated in the aftermath of COVID-19. And there are 23 projects that were funded through that initiative. Next slide. Yes, sorry, I had to go through quickly. And unfortunately, I'll not be able to stay for the Q&A session due to a conflict. But I promise to be responsive if you send any questions you might have to my email address, which is right there. And I'll be looking at Francis also. If there are any questions in the chat, please send them my way by email. And I promise that I'll respond. Someone is asking where our opportunities are shared. They're all on our website. So if you go to idrc.ca, you would find our funding page. And so the active grants will be right there on the website. And if you follow our social media channels on LinkedIn, you'll also be able to see some of the calls that we have at the moment. The calls are not open to individuals. They're usually open to organizations, academic, research, think tanks, civil society, nonprofits, but not individuals, unfortunately.
Thanks so much, Sam.
All right, thank you.
And a pity you can't stay, but we will forward you questions as well, if there are some. Thank you so much. So I see Rob is on our next speaker. So I'd like to introduce Rob, and you can get ready. So Rob Beyer is the co-founder and executive chairman of Vulgrow Africa. He provides leadership to this. Okay. Sorry, I think we have a change in the program. Rob, I'm sorry about that. It's been brought to my attention that the Gates Foundation will go next. So is Jennifer Marau here? Is that okay, Rob? Hope it's okay. Sorry about that. So is Jen available there? So then I'll introduce Jennifer Marau. She joined the Gates Foundation in May 2022 as a senior program officer in the GP and GC team. As a biomedical scientist with rich experience and with relative networks in Africa, Jen brings to the team lived experiences. She promotes diversity and partnerships in the program strategy, as well as program management units. So she provides strategic guidance in the program design and execution of key PSTs in Africa, such as the GAIN study to increase success. Jen is responsible for the Grand Challenges Innovation Platform, a valuable tool that allows PSTs to seek and seed innovation and provides oversight for the Grand Challenges annual meeting, scientific track from programmatic planning. So welcome, Jen. I'll hand over to you. And you have about 8 minutes to present.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just let me get my slides. Share here. Don't use. Mhm. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to.
Are you unable to show?
Yeah, I actually can't seem to see the share button. I saw it earlier and then now it's lost.
Okay, I think you
There
need
we
help.
go.
Okay.
I think we have it.
Sure.
Yeah, let me know if you can see my slides.
Loading.
Can you see them?
It's still loading. There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that, colleagues. Thank you, Michelle. Nice to see you after a long time. As she said, my name is Jennifer. I go by Zen. I'm at the Gates Foundation. So two quick things. I'm going to try to go through this really quickly so we can have a few minutes at the end for questions because I have another meeting at the top of the hour, so I won't be able to stay, unfortunately. And then the second thing is that I'm happy to have questions via my email or through the Grand Challenges email address that will be on one of the slides here. So as she said, I sit within the Global Partnerships and Grand Challenges team, and that is within the Discovery and Translational Sciences under Global Health. And for today, I'm going to focus on our platform for sourcing innovators, which is open RFPs, but obviously there are other ways in which we source for partnerships or for proposals. So what is Grand Challenges? I think most of you probably have heard about Grand Challenges before or have been part of the Grand Challenges annual meeting, which is probably the most popular platform that we have. And the Grand Challenges family is really a family of initiatives that fosters innovation to solve for key global health and development challenges. So what do we do? So as I said, it's our Grand Challenges innovation platform, as we call it. It's basically the platform we use to source innovation by engaging the world's most creative minds from across different sectors, organizations, and geographies. So as I said, there are multiple ways that we look for innovators, but we also recognize that key or solutions can come from anywhere in the world. So the open proposals for us or open calls for us allow us to be more diverse, to be more inclusive by allowing various people from any geographies, depending on the focus of the RFP, to submit their proposals. The other thing that we do through the Grand Challenges platform is to align research and funding partners, meaning if you know the team within which I sit again is Global Partnerships and Grand Challenges. So the partnerships part of that is us working with various funders to align on the key thematic areas for us for RFP launch and then launching it together, because that way then we are sure not to duplicate efforts, but also we can increase the envelope for specific thematic areas. And so this is partly with our Grand Challenges national programs that I'll talk about in a minute, but we also do this with other global funders like Welcome, whom I think are on this call, and many others that we've run calls with, more recently Nova Nordisk as an example, and LifeArc. The next slide here gives an overview of the strategic focus areas of the foundation. I know one of the questions was what areas do we focus on? So these are the key areas that the foundation focuses on. My team does not sit in any of these areas. And I think that would be a conversation for another day to just try and understand how the foundation is organized. But when you probably hear us talk about the program strategy team, we are referring to one of these strategic focus areas here. So, malaria, HIV, TB, common one, and enteral and diarrheal diseases, and the others as you go down the list. So my team is a cross-functional team, which means we support all these different teams in meeting their strategic goals, which then means that if the malaria team wants to to launch an open RFP, they're going to come to me. If the nutrition team wants to launch an RFP, they're going to come to me. So that's kind of how we work. And then on the next slide, we don't work by ourselves. As I've said, we work with our Grand Challenges and colleagues at the national levels and sometimes regional. So over the years, the Grand Challenges family has grown into this global network of very dedicated partners. And what we've done is we've supported many of these to set up their own RFP platforms in their host countries, so that they can be able to launch their own RFPs. Even if it's not in partnership with us, they can launch their own RFPs. And in this way, we find that we are allowing them to be able to launch RFPs that are very relevant and specific to their government needs, which is obviously very important. And then, as I said earlier, and I have an example in an upcoming slide, we, in some cases, are able to have conversations and look at what bubbles to the top, and then we launch RFPs in partnership. And the timeline here just simply shows you the various national grant challenges that have been evolving over the years, with the most recent one, I think, being a Grant Challenges Nigeria, which got launched towards the end of last year. So this is an example of a partner RFP that we launched, I believe, at the Grand Challenges annual meeting in Dakar in 2023. And the funds were sent out last year. So again, here we had the national grant challenges coming to the table and bringing in their funds, and the foundation and other external partners such as the Pasteur Network, the Foundation Sanofi, the Patrick McGovern, all participated in this RFP. So it's a call for artificial intelligence for global health. And again, I emphasize this because we do our best to make sure that we are bringing the national grant challenges to the table, so that we are hearing what's relevant to the local communities and local governments to help in their global health needs. And then you ask for examples of what we've done more recently. These are RFPs that went out in February of 2025. All of them are closed except the very last one on exceptional innovations for exceptionally low cost monoclonal antibodies. And that is because we had two options for that: an option A that closed at the end of January, and an option B that is coming in on a rolling basis. So if someone is interested in that, you can definitely check it out on our website. That closes at the end of May. But otherwise, all the others are closed. I'm just showing you this slide as an example. Some of them are in partnership, like the very first one there, Innovations for Gram-Negative Antibiotic Discovery, was a partnership with Novo Nordisk and the Wellcome Trust, who, again, we partner with them in many, many things. And then all the others were foundation-based. So the reducing the burden of preeclampsia, enhancing HIV and TB diagnosis, but that was specific to adjunct technologies for sample collection upstream, innovative data and modeling approaches to measure women's health, and accelerating innovations to address heavy menstrual bleeding in women in low-risk settings. So those are just examples. It gives you a flavor of the kinds of things that we've been doing more recently. I want to take a minute here to say that we in the past have launched RFPs at the Grand Challenges annual meeting, but unfortunately, those RFPs, you can only apply to those if you are invited to the meeting, and the meeting is an invite-only meeting. But we do have open RFPs like these ones that were open to anybody, not necessarily a grantee who is at the Grand Challenges annual meeting. And but what I cannot tell you definitively is when we will be launching, because sometimes it just depends on what the needs of the program strategies are, as I mentioned previously. So if the program strategy teams come to us today and say, we really want to find better diagnostics for malaria, as an example, then we are going to start working on that. So unfortunately, I can't give you like a specific time when those more open calls will be going out. However, if you sign up to our website, and I'll show you that at the end, we send out when we launch, we send out an email to anybody that has signed up at the Grand Challenges website. So that is potentially the best way for you to know when we are launching or when something is open at the foundation. So yes, this slide actually summarizes that. Over 400 Grand Challenges grants have been issued over the years. I've talked about the government partnerships, because we believe that when we work with governments, that allows us to support not only support our grantees in the right way, but then governments can potentially own the work and uptake the innovations if they are successful. And then, so the best thing again is to urge you to sign up at our Grand Challenges website. So if you log into this website, you will find all the grants that we've launched previously, and all the grants that were issued. They're listed there with the abstract summaries, so that it can give you a flavor of what we're looking for. But also, if you sign up there when we launch in the next group of RFPs, you will definitely receive an email. So I'm going to stop there and take the next few minutes to take any questions if there are any burning ones. Thank you.
Let me have a look, Jen, if there's a question for you. There are two that I see. With the focus areas, can more granular target areas or information be shared?
Say that again, sorry.
So the focus areas are quite broad. That's listed on the, that is supported. The focus areas that GATES supports. So can more granular information be provided as to what GATES is interested in?
So that they can find that on the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you fund training and education?
We don't fund training.
Okay. And then another one is, still for Jen. So 700 to 1,300 submissions per Grand Challenge topic. How many and what percentage will be funded?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It depends on the different PSCs and the envelope that they have. So sometimes people will go in saying, I want to fund 10, and then they see really good ideas and they end up looking for more money and funding 15. And sometimes you can say you want to fund 10 and then you don't get the ideas that you're looking for. So you're not just going to fund 10 just because. So we don't usually we don't go in with a definitive number that we want. You might be thinking of a number, but we are more open to, let's see what our colleagues out there have, and then that allows you to make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just curious before we go on to the next one. So with the Grand Challenges, or with any of the projects that GATES funds, Jen, are there spin-off projects from there that can be funded, like pilot projects, seed projects, opportunities that come out of the projects that potentially get funded, or opportunities for them?
Yes. So for example, like the AI community that we funded. So we funded a lot of AI grantees in the past, maybe 18 months or so. The first lot was funded through the foundation. And And then there's the second lot that I just highlighted that was funded in collaboration with our partnerships. Some of those have actually gone out to get additional funding, some of them from the foundation, some of them from our partners who are in that field. So yes, it just depends on how the initial work, develops. If it looks promising, sometimes you're able to get additional funding from internally from the program teams themselves, or you might be able to also get funding from our other partners if they are it's a thematic area of interest to them.
And then thanks. So there's one other question, like you need an invitation to grand challenges. How many folks get invited to grand challenges and how many of those do you fund perhaps? And then there's just another one around scholarship opportunities for PhDs, MScs.
Yeah, so grand challenges, usually people will get invited are potential already existing grantees of the foundation, because again, as I said, it's the program strategy teams that will send the invitations, and most of the times they are inviting their grantees. The number varies, depends on what envelope we have per year, and we don't have scholarships for MSc PhD students.
So thank you so much, Jen, for joining us and for all the information. And I'm sure folks can reach back out to you. Can we share your email address with this mailing list? Is that okay? Or how do you want to do it?
I would prefer that they email the Grand Challenges email contact. Okay. If you don't have it, I will send it to you. So we have a Grand Challenges specific email contact where we can answer all questions related to the open calls and RFPs.
Awesome. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
So much. So sorry, folks, for running late like this. Just some technical challenges that has made us a bit late. So now I'm going to move to Lacuna Fund and introduce Jennifer. Jennifer Pratt, another Jennifer. Welcome. So Jane is Jennifer is from she's a partner at Meridian Institute. She has over 20 years experience designing collaborative processes and facilitating discussions to develop solutions to complex problems. She has supported multi-stakeholder groups to improve health and nutrition, food security, ecosystem restoration, and community resilience. So Jennifer currently leads Lacuna Fund, a collaborative effort among donors and data scientists to provide researchers and social entrepreneurs in low to middle income contexts globally with the resources they need to make machine learning and AI data more equitable, representative, accurate, and accessible for everyone. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And are you seeing my slides?
Yes, we are.
Are you seeing the slideshow or the presenter?
In presenter mode.
Okay, let me switch that.
No, it's fine.
It's fine?
Yeah.
You're seeing the slideshow? Okay. Okay, great. But I just wanted to double check. Was Rob Beyer going to present next, or did you want me to go ahead?
I think go ahead.
Okay. So I'm gonna skip through some of these slides to go through quickly because of time, but thank you so much, Michelle. And I'm gonna jump to I think you may know that the name Lacuna Fund signifies that there are gaps in the data sets that are available to train and evaluate machine learning models. And so Lacuna Fund was formed to support data scientists and researchers to close those gaps. And the reason is when there are gaps in data, machine learning and the AI tools that are built on top of those data sets can be biased, inaccurate. And so Lacuna Fund was formed to help fill those gaps to make machine learning and AI more representative, equitable, accurate, useful, and accessible for those in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And as Michelle mentioned, it is a pooled fund, and our mission is to provide resources to data scientists in low and middle income contexts to fill data gaps to address urgent problems in their communities. And This pooled fund is a coalition of donors and data scientists involving these 8 funders. Special thanks to Welcome and IDRC, who you heard from earlier, who provide some of the funding along with Google.org and the Rockefeller Foundation and these others for some of the work in health that Lacuna Fund has supported. And Meridian Institute, the not-for-profit organization that I work for, serves as the host for Lacuna Fund and manages the secretariat. Lacuna Fund is guided by these principles in everything that we do. You can learn more about these on the Lacuna Fund website and how these are used as evaluation criteria for proposals that are submitted. What are we looking for? Data sets for machine learning applications. And to date, Lacuna Fund has focused very specifically on supporting new collection of new data and annotation of new data, expanding existing data sets, or supporting aggregation, linking, or harmonizing of existing data sets. Our funding priorities include agriculture, low resource languages, health, and climate, as well as the intersections of these topics. And here's just a quick overview of the funding that we've done in the past on the health domain. We have one call right now that's underway, but it is an invite-only call. It's exciting because it's focused on climate and health data, and it's exciting because it's a little bit new, and this one is in partnership with Welcome, and it is exciting because it's focused on support for teams to move from data to uptake and utilization of that data. And then there's a possibility, we recently have had conversations with a new partner who has expressed interest in funding new data related to climate resilience, which can, of course, involve intersections with health. So keep an eye on the Lacuna Fund website for a potential new open RFP related to that later this year. And here, just quickly, some advice for applicants. Take a look at some of the data sets that have previously been funded. We have a data sets page on the Lacuna Fund website where you can see a list and short descriptions of all the data sets that have been completed, and you'll find links to them as well. Couple other tips. We encourage you to propose a multidisciplinary team with both expertise and skills in machine learning and domain-specific areas, so health. We really want to make sure that the data sets and solutions that you're proposing are going to be helpful to local communities. So talk about any previous consultation or proposed collaboration that you're planning with the affected stakeholders and community and potential users. Include a clear problem statement and how your proposed data will help solve that problem or fill a data gap. Also, be clear about how the data can be used, and speak to each of our evaluation criteria, which are listed in the RFP. And then we also encourage you to be specific about the data set size and cognizant that it needs to be of sufficient size and quality to be useful in applications, because ultimately that's what they're there for. Make sure your budget is appropriate for the size of the proposed project. Describe your approach to equity considerations such as gender, socioeconomic status, and ethnicity, and include your plan for protecting privacy and ethics. And we typically offer an applicant webinar with each of our RFPs to go over the requirements and what we're looking for. So that's a great opportunity to learn more. And then we also invite questions, typically over a 2 or 3 week period. We invite questions and share publicly the answers to those questions. So that's another good way to get information about and target your proposal. And then I wanted to just really briefly share a few examples of funded data sets that, again, you can find on the Lacuna Fund website. I'm not going to talk through all of these because of time, but one that has been prepared by the Nepal Applied Mathematics and Informatics Institute for Research will help with detecting diarrhea-causing parasites in resource-limited areas, particularly across the global south where access to expensive diagnostic tools is limited. So this is an exciting data set that has been used to train deep learning models to automatically detect parasites, specifically Giardia and Cryptosporidium cysts. Another example is the Brain Tumor Segmentation Africa dataset prepared by this great team that you see at the bottom of this slide. And it's an aggregation of MRI scans from 6 centers in Nigeria, and it provides a public data set for the development of machine learning solutions for the management of brain tumors in African patients. So another really exciting resource. The data repository for child malnutrition in Chile was developed by a team including the Ministry of Health in Chile. And given the sensitive nature of this data, unlike most Lacuna Fund datasets, which are required to be openly and publicly available, this one is available via controlled access for researchers. So you can go to this website to learn more information. If you're doing relevant research, you should be able to get access. But this data set and repository will help evaluate factors that contribute to child malnutrition in Chile and children's nutritional status. So another great resource. And the last example that I wanted to share with you is the Lacuna Malaria dataset created by the Makerere Artificial Intelligence Lab and Mino Health in Uganda and Ghana, respectively. This dataset contains images of blood samples collected in these 2 countries, including parasites and white blood cells, and it will aid in the diagnosis of malaria. So another great solution. And I'll stop there and see if there are any questions, and you can find more information at lacunafund.org.
That's fantastic. Jennifer, thanks so much for sharing some great projects. Would you be able to stay on for the panel, or do you need your
My
question?
next call just got canceled, so I can stay on.
Oh, lovely. So we can move on to Laura's talk and then Rob's talk, right? Is that fine? Okay. Okay, so is Laura here? Laura Pavlich? Okay, great. So I'm just going to introduce Laura. Many of you may know her. She's the program director in the Division of International Training and Research at the Fogarty International Center, part of the NIH, where she has previously been with the American Association for Advancements of Science, Science and Technology Policy Fellow. Dr. Pavlich has administered a portfolio of grants that covers a range of research training, research education projects related to global health technology with a significant focus on information and communication technology. She currently is the coordinator of the new Common Fund program, Harnessing Data Science for Health Discovery and Innovation in Africa. That's DSI Africa. Also, prior to working at Fogarty, Dr. Pavlich, between 2011 and 12, was at the Materials Research Society and Optical Society Congressional Science and Engineering Fellow in the office of the Congressman Sander Levin. So welcome, Laura, and thank you for taking the time to share some information around Fogarty with us. Thank you so much.
Michelle, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So I'll walk through these slides relatively quickly, but just wanted to give a brief overview today of some of the opportunities that currently are being offered at the Fogarty International Center that might be of interest, specifically to data scientists and thinking about health data science research. So the Fogarty International Center is one of the 27 institutes and centers in the U.S. National Institutes of Health which has the mission of seeking fundamental knowledge about the nature and behavior of living systems and the application of that knowledge to enhance health, lengthen life, and reduce illness and disability. We are the world's biggest supporter of biomedical, behavioral, and social science research. As I mentioned, Fogarty is one of 27 institutes and centers. We are the only center that's specifically focused on global health research, but if you're familiar with NIH, you may know that global health actually is supported kind of across the agency at many of the other institutes that are listed here as well. The mission of Fogarty is to support and advance the NIH mission through global partnerships and to address global health challenges through innovative and collaborative programs for research and training. And I encourage everyone to look at our website, just fic.nih.gov, to look at current funding opportunities and other communication materials that we have developed around our center. But just to walk through very quickly a few of the opportunities that we currently have available, the first set that I'll discuss are our research training opportunities. So these are institutional research training grants that are awarded to institutions, either to US institutions or institutions in low and middle income countries, in order to develop training programs to enhance research capacity and build networks of researchers within and across low and middle income countries, and really thinking about how we can train a critical mass of researchers in these institutions. So interested trainees apply actually to the institutions and not to NIH to gain some of these trainee awards, but the applications themselves come from the leads of the training program, so established principal investigators either in the US or in low and middle income countries. These what we call our D43 activity code programs, they tend to be disease-based or disease-binned. And so, we've had global infectious diseases programs, non-communicable diseases, and HIV/AIDS. The opportunity that we currently have available for our research training programs is our Global Infectious Diseases Research Training Program, which aims to address the training needs related to infectious diseases that predominantly impact people living in low and middle income countries. And so this is essentially all infectious diseases except for HIV/AIDS, since that has their own research training funding opportunity. And the next deadline is this upcoming August. I recommend reaching out to the program. Contact Barbara Sina if you're interested in learning more. And there's, of course, a lot of information on our website as well about these training programs. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention these research training programs, even though they are disease focused and disease binned, they can, the applications submitted to these opportunities can focus on developing the skills and capabilities in any area that's relevant to the institution and the area of science being proposed for the training. And so in particular, there can be research training programs, for example, that are focused on data science and specific global infectious diseases. So that's a way that interested researchers could incorporate their data science skills and data science interest in capacity building into these applications. We also at Fogarty have a number of career development programs. These are the K programs for their activity codes. The first that I'll mention is our Emerging Global Leader Award for low and middle income country scientists. This is our K43. And it provides research support and protected time for individual research scientists from low and middle income countries who hold junior faculty positions or research scientist appointments at low and middle income country academic or research institutions. Just moving quickly, we have a similar K program as well for US researchers, US citizens, also to provide research support and protected time to individuals who have academic junior faculty positions at US institutions who are interested in performing global health research and specifically interested in working in other countries to perform that research. just to give a quick comparison between these different career development awards, as I mentioned, one is for U.S. citizens or permanent residents, the other is for low and middle income country citizens, and they have a lot of the kind of similar criteria and opportunities. So providing 3 to 5 years of mentored research and career development support in global health, providing the applicant has to provide has to be able to perform a minimum of 75% effort, so 9 person months as part of the award. They have similar salary support and research costs that are offered, and other similar requirements of cannot have other independent research funding already, since these are for kind of junior faculty and junior researchers. And there is a requirement to have a mentor from both the US and the low and middle income countries. So just something to keep in mind in terms of eligibility. In terms of the scope, again, part of the reason I mentioned these awards is because the research that's proposed and the expertise of the applicant can come from any area covered by NIH. And so there could be support of K awards that focus specifically on health data science research and the application of data science to improve health and disease areas that are of interest to and within the mission of the NIH. And then just the final program that I'm going to mention is one of Fogarty's research programs is our Mobile Health Technology and Outcomes in Low and Middle Income Countries program, which is a phased innovation program that consists of both an R21 and an R33 research opportunity. And so this program encourages exploratory and developmental research applications that propose to study the development, validation, feasibility, and effectiveness of innovative mobile health interventions or tools specifically suited for low and middle income countries. And so in particular for this one, for researchers interested in research opportunities, we are quite keen to see applications coming in that are proposing innovative new data science methodology as it relates to mobile health interventions or tools. And so this is certainly one space that I think many data scientists may be interested in exploring. And just a few tips before I end today. Before applying to any NIH opportunity, certainly recommend understanding the mechanism that you're applying for and really studying the funding opportunities because the instructions are quite vital to developing a successful application. And include a link here just on, I think that provides some useful guidance on how to apply to NIH. I do want to mention as well that there is a requirement for applicants to include a foreign justification attachment, foreign meaning not in the United States, that describes the special resources or characteristics of the research project and explaining the reasons why the facilities or other aspects of the proposed project are more appropriate to be done in the proposed setting rather than in the US. And so this is just one required attachment for the application to be able to move forward to review, and just helpful to remind folks that this does have to be part of an application to be able to be funded. And then finally, just want to mention that program officers and scientific review officers are resources for applicants. So definitely contact the program officer assigned with your associated funding opportunity early in the process and have a conversation. Submit early if you can, because there is always issues that pop up, errors with applications and things. It's always good to make sure that you actually get it in by the deadline. And certainly after your application is reviewed, make sure you take a look at the summary statement, which provides the strengths and weaknesses from reviewers. Contact your program officer to discuss next steps, and certainly consider resubmission if needed. And so I'll just stop there. Thank you for your attention. We have some global health funding newsletters that you can subscribe to if of interest, and happy to take questions if there's time.
I hope there'll be time, Laura. Thanks so much. It's great to see that the opportunities coming out. So I think we're going to I think we're over time, but we go to Rob Bayer's talk. So Rob is a co-founder and executive chairman of Vulgro Africa. He provides leadership to this health-centered business incubator, leveraging a pipeline of African innovators and entrepreneurs from local universities, health research institutes, and the private sector. He has broad experience providing leadership and business intelligence related to growth of companies on the African continent. He brings a unique combination of seasoned experience in business, social entrepreneurship, education, and technology. Fortunate to have lived in Kenya for over 23 years, he's familiar with the unique challenges that entrepreneurs face when it comes to sustainability and scaling within the African continent. So great to have you, Rob. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Rob Baer. I'm one of the co-founders and executive chair of Vulgro Africa. I want to thank the DSI team for allowing us to join you today and share a little bit about our AI work going on at Vulgro Africa, and specifically around sustainability. Today, in a short period of time, we're going to cover a lot of content very quickly in hopes that if anything resonates with anybody, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or robbear@vulgroafrica.org as a follow-up. But let's jump right in and see what we learn. Vulgro, we're in our 10th year. We started from nothing back in 2015. Initially from Vulgro India, where Vulgro India works across sectors in fintech, ag, healthcare. When we expanded to Africa, we decided to go only in health and life sciences. And so it's kind of a distinct feature of ours where we working in a sector only because in 2014 and 15, no one else was in that sector. And so it was very underserved. And since then, we've stayed in there and we've grown and we've deployed over $4 million. We've worked with many, many companies, and companies that get the best of what Vulgro has to offer essentially get support, seed funding and support in unlocking more capital or resources in order to continue to grow their business and innovation. We're thankful for a large range of partners that have helped us to do it. We do a lot of different things, but screening and selection, you may have seen our many calls where we put out call for proposals for companies or organizations. We provide technical assistance, seed funding across a broad range. So we've had several AI calls, which we'll talk about in a moment. We do a lot of ecosystem. We do a lot of work with academia, really supporting a broader ecosystem with government and academia and private sector, bringing them together. In sub-Saharan Africa, as you know, it's very underserved, and so it's really important to work and nurture those opportunities. We also do a lot of business intelligence or market intelligence or advisory work. Because we're only in health and life sciences, we get asked to do market scoping or market research opportunities around different aspects of healthcare. And so we've had a really growth area, and we're grateful for that opportunity. And we also do increasing around a fund and fundraising. I'm not going to touch on this slide too much, but essentially we have a number of core services that we offer with a large growing area of R&D. Because we've worked with, literally we see like 1,000 companies a year, and many of them are integrating AI into their proposals. There's a lot of R&D opportunity to understand who's doing what on the continent and where and what the opportunities are and what the gaps are, and so it is very interesting and work to find new learnings and opportunities flowing from those calls. Just give you a little bit about our footprint to give an idea of the various companies and the various reach of our organization in the last 10. Today, we're really talking about AI. And we started this journey specifically in 2021, thanks to our friends at IDRC, who gave us some seed funding in order to see what is going on. This is before ChatGPT and all these other, really the AI really grow and it took off. and it was a bit of a survey. And so we had 185 applications from across the continent, and we narrowed down to a cohort. And you'll notice, I'm not going to speak to them, but you'll notice in that cohort, there was a lot in healthcare. And the call was not actually specifically for healthcare, it was just for AI for D. So who was doing, we had some ag, a few things. And so a few of those, you'll see our agriculture related companies, but the vast majority were in healthcare. And so we worked in that and supported those companies with some seed funding and some technical support. And that was very, very the early days of AI. And some of the learnings that we can see there back then, and some of them are still there, really a lack of understanding of what AI really was at the time. It's getting much better, by the way, obviously, but it was back then. Really lack of awareness of ethical issues and responsibility, and responsible AI. There was promise towards scale and impact. People were doing really interesting things back then, and even now more so. But everybody was trying to monetize the data in some way. People were trying to figure out, if I have this data, someone's going to pay me for it. That is still there, but it has sort of drifted off a little bit, but that was definitely part of the orientation of companies getting into the space. And there was a threat, or let's say the opportunity of big tech coming in. We have seen that. Now, again, this is 3 years ago. We have seen that come true now, that really big tech is all over AI, and they're really looking to sort of leverage and gain a foothold, or how to support AI on the continent, which is great. And there's a general lack of cohesion in the ecosystem there. That was 2021, 2023, 24. We did another call in AI, and we had a number of companies. Now, this is just in healthcare. Thankful for IDRC and J&J and other partners came in and supported us in this. And we chose companies that were specifically in health, and we had several rounds. We had ones doing data miners, those that were generating new data every day by their very operations, things like the TPN group, the pathology network, working on digital imaging and digitizing biology slides, and then creating AI models around it. So in their very model, they're actually, or the business model, they're generating new data all the time. And then there's data miners, data modelers, those that are using data to extract learnings and palindrome data. Afia Intelligence from Tanzania and Neurolabs in Kenya are examples of companies like that. Rawlgy, for example, is another company of a data miner example. There's a lot here to talk about, but key challenges. In Africa, there's really access to high quality data remains one of the biggest barriers to advancing AI. It's just, it's getting better, but it's still very nascent. And there's also a real lack of awareness of AI-focused business or sustainability models. Once initial funding is run out, where do people go to sort of generate data or funding that can further spur the development? That's a specific area where Vilgor Africa digs deep in, by the way, to help understand, and we'll touch on that quickly in a moment. Really access to high volume data sets as well that have high regulatory standards. And and it just seems to be around lack of data or lack of quality data. And as a result, fragmented innovation ecosystems, missed opportunities, and slow progress. We have a potential approach that we've been working on that Dr. Dio, our AI sector lead, has been working on, and it's really a federated learning approach to decentralize the model training. So we bring AI to the data, not the data to the AI. So having a accessible cloud, as it were, that data is able to be stored and accessed by modelers, and then can be made available either funded or open source with funding for that. This is gaining traction with groups like Vodan and others. I know Philips is working on something similar in Europe, and with number of institutions across Africa that are working as part of that initiative, and we hope to support that as well. And really capacity building too, again, it is a very early and fast growing space, and there's always space to learn and grow. Just want to touch on this for the final few minutes here is AI companies have to consider a different business model than a traditional business model canvas. So Dr. Dio and our team have established an AI business model canvas that helps people learn and grow and understand how a AI-oriented business is different but complementary to a traditional business. So overlaying a AI business model canvas, which you may have seen, the next slide shows a traditional business model canvas for those business folks that are there. Overlaying those is important to help local AI innovators in Africa understand how they can position their organization to get additional funding and support to see it grow. And, I realize too that there's a lot of content on these slides, and that's kind of on purpose to sort of say, hey, there's a lot here, but we do want you to reach out. What this leads to, though, is revenue models. So you can still be open source. Many times think open source is free, and it's true, but sometimes open source can be also, it's open, but you have to pay for it. And there's different types of open source models that companies can adapt and adopt to reach their funding goals to continue development, sponsorship and donations. And there's examples there on these slides, 6 main ones with some companies that you probably recognize that deploy these. So sponsorship and donations, freemium models, service and support-based models, platform, cloud-based, open core, and data and API models. And so you can see that there's open source doesn't have to be free, it can be funded as well. And and then there's obviously intellectual property you have to consider, and there's some things to consider around licensing and that. So today was really about just giving you all a quick preview into our work at Vilgrow with AI, some initial thoughts, and really highlight our niche around coming alongside the local AI innovators and thinking about how we can partner with them to generate revenue or a business model that allows them to continue to grow and develop. And this last slide is just about venture capital and the type of funding, if you're going that route, of how to access that. And we want to thank our friends at GIZ, by the way, for these last few slides that had us do some research, on their behalf. So thank you for listening, and feel free to reach out.
Thanks so much, Rob. I hope you are still here. Are you still there, Rob?
No, Rob had to leave. I think most of the speakers had to leave at this point.
Yeah. So I think I don't know if we have Alicia there, and we have Jen. We have Laura. Maybe you can put your screen on, your camera on. I don't see additional questions for either of you, but from the group that are still here, I see one hand up. Who's that? Sorry, I can't see. So Georgina, you want to go ahead? Who's your question for?
Yes, my question is on the NIH grant. I don't know whether the speaker is still available.
Yes.
And okay.
What is here?
So my issue is on the foreign applicant requirement. If that could be explained better to us, because if the funding opportunity is for LMICs, how do I justify why it should be done in Africa and not in the US? That's something that I find difficult understanding, because what she showed, some of the opportunities are for LMICs. And if it is for LMICs, why should the applicant provide a justification? And if she can also explain, how do we justify that? How can we say that this work should not be done in the US, but it should be done in Africa. It's something that I find difficult understanding. So if she can really explain that. Thank you very much.
I'll let her respond, please.
Yeah, no, I can respond to that. So, I mean, it's really a matter of thinking about the specifics of the research project that's being proposed or the research training that's being proposed, and thinking about, what are the unique talent or resources or populations that are being leveraged for that research in the country that the work is being done in. That's not always the case that the work couldn't also potentially be done in the US, but it's really just valuing why the applicant thinks it's important that the work be done in other countries. I do recognize that this is somewhat at odds with some of the requirements within Fogarty's programs, but this is more of an NIH-wide requirement, and so it is part of the application process that the each applicant does have to go through. But certainly, I think if you are putting together an application, you could reach out to the program officer for that funding opportunity if you have questions or want any advice on your specific justification.
Thanks so much, Claudia. I hope that satisfied Georgina's question. So I don't have any more questions here, and I don't see any more hands raised, but I made an observation. I just see that with NIH and I think with Gates, they fund more globally across the globe, and it seems that Wellcome has a very focused Global South funding strategy, and also the Samuel's group, the IDRC, very focused on the Global South. I was just wondering, maybe Laura and Yulisha could respond, like within your groups and within, with your resources and so on, in the groups that you fund, do you have an opportunity to link early career researchers from the Global South with bigger teams? And is there any kind of activity that you intentionally do to connect sort of and promote and give opportunities to early career researchers? I know you have specific funds, and maybe you can speak to that, but do you connect them? Do you make them in any way? Or the mechanisms? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So maybe I'll go first. And so essentially, in addition to the Global South, we also fund the UK, where actually majority of our funding goes actually for Wellcome. About 90% of Wellcome's funding is in the UK, and that which includes kind of Scotland and Ireland. We have a number of institutes and a number of academic institutions as well that are partners within the UK. And so typically what we do particularly when you are a grantee from the early career researcher, if you're a mid-career researcher, or if you're an independent researcher, the discovery team holds networking events, essentially similar to this, which is, I think part and parcel of how Wellcome likes to connect researchers and connect them to other early career researchers who are also resident, kind of across the globe, and brings them sometimes, usually hosted in Wellcome. And then typically what happens is the early career researchers meet each other, but also there are opportunities for them particularly to meet Sanger Institute, a lot of the academic institutions in particularly the locations where they're in. So if they're in London, you find the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, Imperial College, the people that we tend to fund can come, and there are all these networking opportunities that we try to avail for the researchers to meet kind of a global north, global south. With regards to global south, which I think is actually really key in terms of researchers getting to know other researchers across not just early career, but mid and independent and institutions within the global south. We haven't been as good at doing that simply because our footprint hasn't been as strong. But these are ways that we're partnering with organizations like Science for Africa Foundation, APHRC, that have much wider footprints, and they're the ones now guiding us on how we can actually encourage that type of collaboration across South to South.
Thanks so much. Laura, do you want to respond?
I can address that briefly. I mean, similarly, through Fogarty's research training programs and in our career development programs, we do try to network the grantees like amongst each other, but also, thinking about how we can network, for example, some of our K43 career development awardees that work in HIV with our, HIV research grantees, for example, just to help develop the networks of these early career researchers. And we like to do that kind of networking with our established investigators as well, because we think that can be valuable. So it is sort of built into how our program officers manage our programs, but there aren't, I can't speak to specific opportunities for those outside of our programs, but it's certainly something that we try to foster with our grantees. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to mention thanks so much. So DSI will be partnering with Welcome at the upcoming August in-person meeting, 23rd, 29th of August in Accra. So one of the, with Ikin, we're working closely with her, and one of the point she made was to do a matchmaking, networking. So we'll have an in-person networking exchange, but we will specifically try to do some matchmaking as well. We're still working on it, but we're doing that, Yulisha. So I don't see any more hands up, but there were questions popping up. Does NIH fund education and training? Yes, the FIC is really focused on that, but Laura can respond, and also to the other questions that came up. Are these funding opportunities not going to be impacted by the changes in US policy? And while there are a lot of changes happening right now, NIH, including FIC, continue to support. Oh, okay. So did you respond?
Yes, I responded.
Okay.
No, just to respond to the education and training question. Yeah, as I mentioned in my talk, Fogarty does provide support for training programs. But what's important to distinguish about those programs is that they are awards to academic institutions who then recruit the trainees themselves. So they would have a solicitation open to recruit and evaluate the trainees that want to come and receive the training being offered by those programs. And so I say this because the trainees themselves would not be applying to NIH to receive the training, but would be applying to our programs. And we do have a list of the institutions and funded training programs on our website if you look at our list of grantees. So you can take a look at what's offered and potentially try to seek out places to apply to through that.
Sorry, I'm on mute. So Cynthia has a question. DSI Africa Welcome Trust meeting in Accra open to African data scientists. What is the main agenda? We are working on the agenda. I think we also want to have a funders forum, Cynthia, and we want to talk about the sort of Pan-African innovations, the African, how we tap into African investment funds, but also the changing landscape of funding. And there was another one I had written down. So there's a bunch of things we want to do. We also want to invite various organizations to join us, but there's a sponsorship package around that as well. And I think we also want to sort of dig deeper into what the funders, their strategic plans, the niche areas that they want to fund. So that's part of the program. But of course, we're partnering with Welcome. So a lot of the Welcome programs will we'll have shared theme sessions between the DSI Africa PIs and the Welcome Trust projects as well. Oh, is that the AI business model? I think Rob has left, but we will share these questions with him and try to connect you, Caleb, with Rob. I think he does have a wealth of experience in business and in AI. It's amazing. So I think we really need to leverage that. Yeah, I'm sad that he had to leave. I'm sad that Jennifer Pratt had to leave as well, because we wanted to ask more questions. Georgina has another question. I think we're going to take one more and then wrap it up. Georgina, you want to go ahead? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me another opportunity. For Welcome, this is a question to Welcome. One thing that NIH does well, and it's the support that you can receive from the program directors, officers, when you are writing your proposal, your application. I don't know whether Welcome also has that, because there is that perception that writing Welcome applications, it's very difficult. So I don't know whether you have that opportunity for us, that support that you provide, so that people can also be assured that there is somebody they can reach out to.
Thanks, Georgina. So we actually at Welcome, that has been a very common challenge, and I think kind of positive and constructive critique of the application, sometimes, in terms of guidance. But I think also it's very indicative of the ecosystem, particularly African ecosystem, where, most of the resources and are geared towards teaching, and kind of the support that researchers need to actually write grant applications are really disproportionately, there's an unfair advantage, I'll say, with the, global north, that have teams that are just essentially churning out these applications. And then, of course, you have research leaders who have done it before and supporting their people to kind of do this. While we've noticed that as much as there might be awards that are being given for the Global South, there is that issue in terms of how can we support excellent researchers to be able to articulate, an application, and kind of in the way that kind of Welcome will find it, kind of quote unquote, define it as strong. And in response to that, actually, over the past, I think 1 year, 1.5 years, and now there's a pilot scheme that we have been running in Africa and in Asia to essentially have training hubs and bring researchers together and support grant writing, to support, just giving time for researchers to sit and just write applications. But this is not targeted just to Welcome applications, but essentially for all types of applications. Although, of course, the focus is Welcome selfishly, because we want to increase the number of applicants we have from the Global South that can, progress in shortlisting and winning these awards. So it's going on, and we're hoping, my fingers are crossed, that this is actually going to kind of work, because essentially what the commitment is that if we do actually see a increase in applicants from this cohort that are kind of spread in both, it's really African Asia, South and Southeast Asia, then, Welcome is going to now consider actually investing a lot more in having kind of in earlier part of supporting researchers as they're applying for these grants. So I think, fingers crossed, we want to do something that's more evidence-based. And so we're doing this as a pilot, just to give us evidence and ways in which we can make this work across the different ecosystems, as they have different challenges. And hopefully you'll be hearing soon that kind of Welcome is now entering this, and rightfully so. We're also leaning on fellow funders like the NIH that, as you've rightly said, do it very well. So there's also some cross-sharing that's happening in working groups of how Welcome can actually do better in this area. So thanks for bringing that up.
Alicia, so how can we find out more about when those trainings happen? Can we get that information from you and share it somewhere?
In terms of when they're already rolling, and there's already cohorts that are doing this. So this is with in Africa, it's with APHRC that have been running kind of grant research, kind of grant writing and support. So you might have heard, that's the African Population Health Research Center in Nairobi. MLW, Malawi Liverpool Welcome, has also recruited cohorts across Southern Africa, however. So that one has been a bit limited. And then in South and Southeast Asia, I think it's in Vietnam and Thailand, that where there's also been kind of a cohort. So that's happening now. We're following them, and there's going to be, I think, a period of 3 cohorts across the 3 years. And so hopefully, after that, we'll see kind of what works, and how we can kind of put this in the ecosystem as a wide initiative.
Thank you so much, Alicia, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to hand over back to Francis for closing. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Michelle.
Sorry, can I just ask? I'm really keen to share the slides, and part of the slides also have tips that I've put in for applying. So I was just wondering how I can share them that can reach everyone. Would that be to you, Francis or Michelle, and then you can distribute to everyone?
Yeah, let's just send to me, and
Okay.
we will share with the delegates as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. So I have shared on the screen our evaluation survey. I will send that also in an email. But then there are about 70 people on the call now that have stayed throughout. Please take a moment to complete the evaluation survey. We just want to know what went well, what didn't go well, what should we improve, what we can do. So please do that. It will also be sent in an email. The recordings for the networking exchange for the various breakout sessions will all be made available on the DS Africa YouTube channel. All the slide deck that we received from the various speakers will also be made available to the delegates, and I will include that also in the email, as majority of the delegates have already dropped off. So I think we will end here. Thank you all for joining us today, and we will continue our discussions over email, and hopefully we'll see some of you at the in-person DS Africa Consortium meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Francis.